Imagine a world where your future isn't determined by chance, but by design. A world where diseases are eradicated before birth, intelligence is optimized, and physical prowess is engineered. Sounds like science fiction, right? What if I told you that this world isn't a hypothetical future, but a rapidly approaching reality, fueled by technology so powerful its implications are being kept from the public eye? For centuries, humanity has dreamed of control over its own biology, from ancient myths of perfect humans to eugenics movements that thankfully met their deserved end. The aspiration to improve ourselves has always been there, lurking just beneath the surface. But until recently, it remained largely a dream. Our DNA, the very blueprint of life, seemed untouchable, a sacred text written in an unbreakable code. Then, in the early 21st century, everything changed. Scientists stumbled, almost accidentally, upon a system within bacteria, a primitive immune system for fighting off viruses. They called it CRISPR, clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. It was a molecular scissor capable of precisely cutting and pasting sections of DNA. This wasn't akin to rewriting a sentence. It was like having a super-intelligent editor who could navigate an entire library of genetic code, find a specific word, delete it, and replace it with another, all with astonishing accuracy. And here's the quiet shocker. It was relatively cheap, simple to use, and incredibly effective. No longer confined to the most elite labs, suddenly the power to rewrite life itself became accessible. What had always been the stuff of distant fantasy was now very suddenly a practical reality. But with this incredible power came an equally incredible and terrifying set of questions. Questions we, as a society, are only beginning to grapple with, and perhaps questions that some would prefer we don't ask at all. The initial promise of CRISPR was undeniably miraculous. Imagine curing genetic diseases like cystic fibrosis, Huntington's, or sickle cell anemia, not just managing symptoms but erasing the root cause from the genetic code. The thought is breathtaking, a world free of inherited suffering. But then the questions started to pile up, like shadows lengthening at dusk. If we can fix diseases, what else can we fix? Can we enhance? Can we customize? The term designer babies moved from the realm of dystopian novels to the urgent discussions of bioethicists. Should parents be able to choose traits for their children, intelligence, athleticism, even eye color? Who gets access to this technology? Will it become a privilege for the wealthy, creating an even wider chasm between the genetically enhanced and everyone else? A new form of inequality, etched not in wealth but in DNA itself. And what about unintended consequences? Our understanding of the human genome is still evolving. Altering one gene, even with the best intentions, could have ripple effects throughout a complex biological system, creating unforeseen problems generations down the line. We don't fully understand the intricate dance of genes, how they interact, how they influence traits, how a change meant to benefit one aspect could inadvertently harm another. The ecological implications are equally unsettling. If we can alter the genes of mosquitoes to prevent malaria, what happens to their place in the ecosystem? What if the modified genes escape into the wild, creating unpredictable and irreversible changes to natural populations? This isn't just about human health, it's about altering the very fabric of life on Earth, with consequences we cannot possibly predict. And yet the research continues, pushing boundaries, driven by scientific ambition and the powerful allure of progress, often with little public oversight or understanding of what's truly at stake. But things took a truly profound turn when the focus shifted from somatic cell editing, changes to an individual's body cells that aren't passed on, to germline editing. This is where the real paradigm shift occurs. Germline editing means making changes to sperm, egg, or early embryo cells, ensuring that these genetic modifications are not only present in the individual, but are also inherited by all future generations. This isn't just treating a person, it's rewriting the human species itself. The power this grants is truly unprecedented. It means directing the future evolution of humanity consciously. Think about that for a moment. We're not talking about slow, natural selection over millions of years. We're talking about deliberate, targeted changes passed down through an unbroken lineage. In 2018, a Chinese scientist, He Jiankui, announced he had done just that, claiming to have created the world's first CRISPR babies, twin girls whose genes were allegedly modified to resist HIV. The global outcry was immediate and intense. Such an act was widely condemned, not just for its ethical breaches and lack of transparency, but for crossing a line that many believed society was not yet ready or even willing to cross. It exposed the stark reality: technology had outpaced our ethical frameworks, regulatory bodies, and public discussion. This wasn't merely a scientific breakthrough, it was a societal earthquake, forcing us to ask, who decides what humanity becomes, who draws the line, and what happens if that line is crossed before we even understand where it should be? What they discovered next, or rather what was revealed about this potential future, is that the implications stretch far beyond individual health. We are standing at a precipice with the power to fundamentally alter the human experience. The promise of eradicating disease is seductive, but the path inevitably leads to questions of enhancement, of control, and ultimately of what it means to be human in a world where biology is no longer destiny. We are talking about irreversible changes, changes that cannot be undone once they are passed down through generations. Once a gene is altered in the germline, it becomes a permanent part of the human gene pool. There is no recall button, no way to reset if we discover unforeseen consequences decades or centuries later. This isn't a problem for scientists alone, it's a monumental challenge for all of humanity. It demands transparent, informed public discourse, not just hushed conversations in closed academic circles. We need to collectively decide if we are comfortable with the power to design our descendants, to potentially create a biologically segregated society, or to unleash unknown ecological effects. The decisions being made now in labs around the world, whether publicly debated or quietly pursued, will shape our collective future in ways we can only begin to comprehend. To this day, we may never fully grasp the true extent of genetic editing's power until it's already woven into the fabric of our existence. If you want more explorations into the shadows of technology and its impact on humanity, the next video explores the unsettling rise of AI-driven surveillance and its quiet infiltration into our daily lives.